Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to This Thrive. I'm your host, Brett, and I'm so excited to be here because we are going to be talking about the no-code advantage for your software development agency. No-code is a tool that is exploding right now. I've got some stats I can't wait to tell you. Joining us later is going to be Matt with Triple Scoop, and we're going to be deep diving into what he's doing in his agency with no-code. So let's jump in. By 2024, 65% of development is going to be using no-code tools. And not only that, but non-IT developers are going to make up 80% of the no-code tools. And that's up from 60% just a couple of years ago. By 2025, 70% of new business applications are going to employ no-code technology. This is staggering. And no-code platforms speed up the development by 90% and use 70% fewer resources. This is pretty crazy. So today, let's talk a little bit about the advantages of no-code. Then we're going to deep dive into the client experience, and we'll have some live Q&A. So joining us to talk about this is Matt. Matt, I'm so glad to have you here, my friend. It's good to see you.
That's great to be here, Brett. Thanks for having me. It's
Matt,
currently 6 a.m. on Thursday.
It is. So you're coming in from New Zealand, so it is an extremely early morning for you, no doubt. Thanks for coming and being a part of this so early in your neck of the woods. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what your background's like and how you got into coding and maybe no coding too.
Yeah, I've been in software since 2008. Played around with all sorts of different coding, but 5 years ago, I set up my own full stack agency and really relied on some really geniuses, right? Some wizards who are full stack developers. We ended up with a team of 7 in the end of it before I exited. And they're geniuses, they're wizards. But the problem with full stack technology was that we had clients all around the world, but we couldn't be as nimble as we could be in low code. And I came across low code in 2019, and that blew my mind. Like the advantage, the benefit of going to a low code platform, we could deliver products for clients that were faster, a better experience for people. So with a whole bunch of things that we did in that realm that I can't turn away from. So last year alone, I remember the clients that we had on low code were so much happier. I would ask them for reviews that I wouldn't ask for from other clients. So there's a whole bunch of reasons that I was just happier in a low code environment. And so this year I'm in a low code agency and it's a real treat. So thanks for having me, Brett.
Oh, we're so glad that you're here. Now, we've sort of had a conversation about this between some of the experts, and we sort of distilled some of this down. But where do you want to start? Let's start, I guess, with the advantages, and let's just jump right into it. So you tell me what you think the advantages of no code are.
Yeah, well, you talk about time to value, right? There on the screen. It's a perfect example. If a client came to me and said, hey, we just want to add another feature, we want to add another module, we want to change what we've already done. In the full stack environment, it would take a long time. And so then it felt like I'd have to explain to people up front, we've got to be so clear up front because any change could take weeks or months. But now the time to value is not like that at all. So clients are happier because actually a lot of clients are trying to think dynamically, they're trying to think agile. And so they're thinking, how do we do this? We're going to take this to market, but the market might tell us something different than what we've built. How do we have the flexibility to change that on the fly? So we can say to them, hey, look, we still need to be really clear about scope. We need to be clear about what we're building and how long it's going to take. But the advantage is that we can adapt and be flexible as we go. And that is wild. I've even had things where I've built features on the fly, which is not a good practice. But if something's broken or something doesn't work quite as expected and the app is live, to be able to make a change and deploy that while you're talking to the client is just unheard of, rather than in the full stack environment, going away, pulling down, it's a whole different world. So that whole thing for me is huge.
Well, let me ask you a question. Versus traditional development, to add a feature or to do anything like that versus no code, what percentage time increase is it for traditional development?
Oh, I don't know the actual percentage, but it feels like thousands.
So it's just little things like that really, really, really help you move faster.
For sure. And even what Glide have been doing this year in terms of adding integrations, those were things that we were building manually as an agency last year. So the ability to create a PDF or to integrate notifications, this year be connecting to OpenAI, all those things are coming out of the box, and low code platforms in general are doing that. That's mind blowing because you have access to so many more tools right at your fingertips, and that just keeps changing. Like the low code environment is so dynamic. It feels like every month there are new integrations, new plugins or options or other things to play with. It's pretty exciting. It's also a little bit daunting because you're trying to keep up. There is so much, but the rapid pace is unbelievable. So last year when we were building those things ourselves, we kind of thought that we were leading the way of, hey, look what we're doing and integrating into a low code environment. But actually, what's already coming is just mind blowing. So I think technology firms just have no idea. Like traditional development companies don't know what they're missing out on at the moment.
I want to ask your follow up to that, specifically firms that aren't using it. We can ask that in a minute. I like one of the things that you and I have had a side conversation about, and I really loved one of your points that was you don't have to do as much testing or bug testing for certain components that you add, because when you use a no code platform, a solutions platform app builder like Glide, there's already thousands and thousands of businesses and other apps that are using that particular module. So, and like you said, one element that gets added just expands your array and your tool belt, just immediately expands your tool belt.
Correct. And even there's the other part of it, which is the building side of things. I talked to a company who spent 3 years to build their full stack app, and it's still not finished and it's still broken. So they couldn't show me it. It spent 3 years and it cost them $90,000. And they came to me saying, what do we do? Like, who do you recommend as an agency? And I said, I actually would recommend that you rebuild it in low code. And they were not happy about that. They said, look, we've spent $90,000. We have spent 3 years. And I said, yeah, but you still cannot even show me the second screen. That API integration is broken. And they're like, yeah. And for me, that feels like a world away. It's only been 6 months since I exited the agency, but already I'm not talking about pages with massive errors on them. That just doesn't exist. So all these modules and components come out of the box and are tested by thousands of people around the world. So they're intuitive, they're easy to use. And then you get access to all that functionality, and so to your clients.
So let's talk a little bit more about the client experience. And I know this one's a very near and dear topic to your heart here. So tell us a little bit about how you prep your clients, what you talk about, how this is a better experience for them. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that example before is probably my prime example, and it's only very recent. But I think that there are stories like that all over the place of people who just expect software, the building part of it, to be slow and clunky. But they're so used to using apps that are fast and intuitive. And so as a user, they go, why isn't it the same experience when I'm building it? And actually the low code tools that are coming out and all the integrations we get are making it like that. That you don't have to have coding experience or talk to a bunch of developers to do that. You can actually be learning yourself. And like you're talking about before with the community, there's an amazing community who are so keen to help and share their knowledge. They're trying things, they're building things, they're experimenting. And so that's amazing. But so not only are you comparing costs from a traditional development point of view, which is significantly reduced, you're also getting access to a whole bunch of functionality and people who are keen to help, because I feel like the community is quite open, it's quite connected, whereas full stack agencies can be quite closed. It's quite a protective world. So that's one part of it. And then also with the client experience in general, in terms of focusing on the business solution. I mean, you're teaching clients how to use low code. Like the whole point of it is you give it back to them on their accounts and say, I will teach you how to do this. So, I mean, which client wouldn't love that? I mean, when you say to them, hey, we could either teach you how to use it and and you can be building things, you can be adding features yourself after launch, or you have to go to an agency and rely on them for every change. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
And that also for your agency, that helps you not have to do everything. So that really reduces your workload a lot for some things that could be self-served, right?
Correct. And it also shifts the onus to the client. So if you give them enough of a framework for them to set up, they feel like they've been a part of it. So they take ownership in it. But also it gives them the responsibility to say they know the parameters, what they're working with and what they need to add to make it even more beautiful. So it kind of becomes a joint build. They get to have a say in how that looks and how it feels, but they have the tools to change that at the end if they need to. So yeah, it's a wonderful experience. It doesn't feel like this weird dynamic between client and agency. It kind of feels like, hey, they're part of this as well, and they'll get it at the end. So yeah, like it. I don't mean to be an evangelist that keeps saying the same thing over and over, but it feels liberating, you know?
That's amazing. Like I love this. And I think this is something that for agencies that may or may not be using and deploying no code tools, it's kind of a no-brainer to me that you have to take a case by case, but if it's a fit, it seems like a great fit. And it seems like there's a lot of leverage here. And I'll ask you that question next. But I also love this third point here, Matt, is just because it's leaner, it's faster, and it has a lot of perks, it doesn't necessarily mean that the price sticker should be really much lower, right? I mean that's a huge point, and I know this is something that you and I have also talked about.
Yeah. So I often explain to other agencies or other developers that the time to build might be a fifth or a tenth of the time, but the cost is a half. So you're winning massively, and so you're able to say, per time, like as a prorated rate, it's unbelievably more effective, but you're also delivering huge value to the client. So, if a client is comparing you with a full stack agency, it's going to be more expensive, but it's also going to be more of a hassle. So for all that, the ease of mind and the enjoyment of the process, that is worth something to the clients. And some people are still charging the same rates as a full stack build. I know of some people who are doing that. I don't know many people who are doing that, but it just means that you are able to compete because you've actually got tools that work. And when you can turn around, you're delivering an output that solves someone's needs, solves a problem for their needs. And you go, people will love you. So I think there's a resistance from some agencies to jump on because they're so used to having full control. They're used to having a custom experience. They think, I'm going to be hampered. I'm going to have some constraints. But if you're focusing on the solution that you're building and what problem that's addressing, you can do so much. And so that's where the cost becomes almost a moot point, because you're able to deliver something, that's going to help someone. They're willing to pay, and I think we often forget that when we're building in a low-code environment. I was talking to someone yesterday, Brett, actually. They're an agency. They're currently in 3 different countries. They have 18 staff, and they don't have any low-code tools at their disposal. They weren't even aware of it. And so I think sometimes it's easy to stay in a little bubble. It kind of feels like I'm in an echo chamber sometimes. And they were blown away. I showed them my quoting tool. So if I meet with a client, often they want a non-disclosure agreement before I can see their data. And so before that used to take 20 minutes to open up a template and make some changes and make sure everything was fine. I just now have that as a PDF monkey template, click a button and glide, boom, NDA is sent to them. If they then accept the NDA, I can send a contract, click another button, done. And I showed them that in person before I then showed them my proposal generator, which just goes through a bunch of modules that I would tick. And I showed this agency that are very, very successful. And they could not believe it. They said, we need to get this into every single one of our clients. All our clients need to have low code at their fingertips. And so you go, I'm building this myself going, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. Like you could build it yourself in a low code platform. Glide has this available out of the box. It's nothing special that I've done. And they were just losing their mind as a CEO and the COO. And they just almost dropped tools. Like, let's focus on this right now.
That's really funny. I love hearing that, because I know there are so many software development agencies, and I've got a friend here that I just kind of reconnected with, and they're also full stack. And so some of the stuff that they're doing is months and months of runway, and it takes forever. And I actually showed him just a couple things, some really cool apps and solutions that were built on Glide, and he couldn't believe it. He's like, this is crazy. So now they're starting to investigate. So it's funny, and it makes sense, because when we're talking about this, the market is definitely moving this way. This seems to be the trend right now. And I can see why.
You had those stats up front. I mean, we've been talking about the low code revolution for a couple of years, but it's ramping up, and the fact that there are more agencies jumping on board is a testament to what you can build with it. The agencies are totally missing out. The line that the CEO said to me was, a low code agency is going to come for my company. And I said, yes, which wasn't a popular answer. I think he was hoping I'd tamper that a bit. But I mean, ultimately, the clients, he's going to clients who are huge, big clients, and they want to work with experts. But at the moment, I don't think that the perception of low code is that you can deliver expert solutions, but that is changing as well right now. And it, like, under the surface is like an undercurrent, and Glide is leading the way in that, in terms of the integrations that are coming, all the things that you can do right now. It's mind blowing, but you can have that and say that you're an expert because you're delivering these solutions that other people on the same par, basically. So yeah,
I really like what you said there, and I can't agree more. And I want to jump into how we leverage this to grow your agency and how others can. But this is what's interesting specifically in our neck of the woods. We're in the experts community. We know what people are building and what they're accomplishing. And it's candy. We see this every day, and it just blows our mind. But it's like this microcosm in a world where all of this complicated software that businesses need exists, and we all know what's really happening. And it's like, I feel like sometimes, just like you're talking about, I feel like we're just at the tipping point where it's like just about to explode, and we're so early, it feels. So Matt, what would you say? What are some tips you would give to an agency that is either trying it, maybe trying it? How can someone leverage this? What are some ways that people can grow with this trend? The trend is your friend. How do we surf this? What would you recommend?
This is going to sound quite biased, but I would say talk to an expert. Talk to someone who's already doing it. Talk to an existing agency in the low code world. If you reach out to the Glide experts or a Glide agency, they will give you pointers and run you through solutions that will actually speed that process up and be willing to teach you and coach you. There are so many tools. There's the community, there's the university, there's YouTube. There's so much that you can learn from. But sometimes existing agencies don't want to do that. That's often for the freelancers. Agencies go, hey, I want to outsource this. Who do I give this to? And there is a whole world of people out there who are passionate and fired up about this. And so obviously that's a biased answer from me. But there are people who exist in that world who have been doing this time in and time out for years now. And we are staying ahead of that trend. We're staying ahead of the curve. So yeah, my suggestion would be that. But ultimately, they need to get on board. This is a train that is leaving the station. If you're not on this train, watch out. It's a little bit like what we're talking about with AI too this year. Everyone's been talking about it, but the companies that won't be using AI in a few years' time will be left behind, if not already. So there's just so many tools at their disposal, and not to be afraid of.
We've seen some incredible stuff with what people have integrated with their business solutions with AI. I've seen incredible stuff. And Nathaniel makes a really, really good point here. It may not be a bad idea for, if you are a full stack development agency, to have some no code skills, or if you're a full no code solution, to have work with other agencies that are doing full stack. So, I mean, I think there's ways here to sort of pad your offerings, I think is what he's ultimately saying here. So
I agree a lot, actually. I think as a full stack agency, to ditch full stack is a huge move, but to ignore low code is a risk, and so for them to be including that as part of their offering, I think makes a lot of sense. I think it does make sense to then also be aware of what full stack can do, so that you are, if you need to be integrating with other agencies, then that's possible. But as a full stack agency, then they need to be incorporating low code. That's for sure.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's really interesting. And Daniel's singing a song over here. Who are you going to call? Glide experts. I agree, Daniel. I'm with you. So where would you point for a resource for someone who doesn't know, might know? Talk to an expert. That's one. Let's say they don't know about that. What's a breadcrumb you could give somebody right now to go get involved?
YouTube is always good.
It's great. And there's so many great videos there as well.
Yeah. And like we talk about the experts, that a lot of them are making amazing videos that explain things in depth, with good screen sharing. They walk through the whole thing. So it's pretty amazing to have that as a learning tool. It feels ridiculous saying that, but it's true. And then I talked about the university before, Glide have just talked about the university that's come out. It's amazing as a resource to point people to that. Whenever someone approaches me about building on low code, that's where I'd send them.
That's amazing. Did you send that resource to your friend? Because that's exactly where I sent my friend too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the full stack agency, I sent them to me. Hey, talk to me. But for other people who are looking to build, I say, look, there are boot camps out there. There's the university. You need to get on board and do some time if you want to be a builder. As an agency, I would send them to an existing other agency or freelancer.
So I love that. And I can tell you, for anybody who isn't aware of this or a part of this, you can learn more at glideapps.com/solutions/agencies. And you can see a little bit about how you can use Glide in your agency to begin making some of these incredible solutions. Matt, you've been incredibly generous with your time at 5 a.m. I can't thank you enough. Is there anything else you want to add to this before we close?
Well, just that there's so much more to come. It just blows my mind of what people are building. And I think we don't often, we call it shouting from the rooftops. We don't often do that enough. The automations that are happening are often bubbling under the surface. So yeah, I'm really wrapped and really thankful for your time too, Brett. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, please. You're a rock star. Everybody knows Matt. You're the guy. So I want to say thanks again for everybody coming. I hope everybody learned something here. There's some really cool stuff coming. There's great ways you can use no code, low code in your agency. The goal here is for you to get some amazing clients, build some great products, build some good solutions, and make that incredible client experience like you were talking about, Matt, and get out there and kill it. I love it. I hope you learned something. Matt, thanks again. And y'all have a great day. Thanks, Matt.
Bye-bye.